Today's lesson is going to be a review on fractions, decimals, and percents. It's important to know how fractions, decimals, and percents all relate to each other. It gives you good number sense, kind of like common sense, and it will make math easier for you when dealing with real-world issues like money. Our whole next unit, Unit 5, is talking about consumer math. So when you go shopping, how do you find discount, tax, percents of numbers? So this is a review from last year to get you ready for Unit 5. The first part of our lesson is, how do you take a number that's a percent and change it to a decimal and then a fraction? So here we have 35%. And to review what that would look like is you drop the percent sign and move the decimal point 2 places. So here we drop the percent sign, move our decimal point, and it's 0.35 or 35 hundredths. When we write a fraction, we write what we say. We say this number 35 hundredths, so our fraction is 35 hundredths. Now all we have to do is reduce it. On your calculator, you have the N over D button. So you can type in 35 hundredths and simplify. And 35 hundredths simplified is 7/20ths. Alright, let's try the next one. 14%, I drop the percent sign and move my decimal back 2 places. This would be 14 hundredths as a fraction. And simplified, you would get 7/50ths. Let's be careful with our next one. We have 125%, which is more than 1. If I move my decimal point back 2 places, my decimal is 1.25. How do we write that as a fraction? Well, we have 1 and 25 hundredths. So can I simplify that? Yes. 1 and 1/4. Alright, 0.5%. Be careful. We're dropping the percent sign and moving our decimal point back 2 places. So my answer is actually 0.005. How do we say that number? We say tenths, hundredths, thousandths. We say 5 thousandths. Can we simplify that? Yes, it becomes 1 over 200. Alright, and the very last one, if I look at this, 1/3 is 33, and 1/3 is 0.33333 repeating, and that was percent. So to write it as a decimal, I need to drop my percent sign, move my decimal point back 2 places, and I have 0.33 repeating. What does that look like as a fraction? Well, actually, 0.33333 is 1/3. So let's fill out our rules. What did we just get done doing? We changed a percent to a decimal and a decimal to a fraction. Please copy down these rules in your notes and pause the video. To change a percent to a decimal, we move the decimal point 2 places to the left, away from the percent sign. So on the screen before, we would drop the sign and move 2 places away. To change a percent to a fraction, we put the percent over 100 and we simplify or reduce. To change a decimal to a percent, we do the opposite of what we did up here. We're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right and add our percent sign. For example, move it 2 to the right and add a percent sign. 0.33 equals 33%. And the last rule we have is fractions to percents. You're going to divide the numerator by the denominator and multiply by 100. So here I would put in my calculator 1 divided by 4, and I'd get 0.25. When I multiply that by 100, I get 25%. Once you've copied down the rules, I want you to try to change these on your own. In the first column, you're changing a percent to a decimal. And in the second column, you're doing the opposite, changing your decimal into a percent. Pause the video and fill this out, and then check your answers when you're done. All right, let's check your work. So here you should have gotten 0.35 or 35 hundredths, 6 thousandths, 3. This was 88 1/3% or 88.3333 repeating. And if I drop my percent sign and move it 2 places away, I get 0.883. Number 5, you're doing the opposite. You're moving your decimal point toward the percent sign, and you have 37.5%. Number 6, 98%. And number 7, if I move my decimal point 2 places, I get 210.5%. Here I'm going to do the same, and I get 0.65%. Now you're going to practice taking a fraction and changing it to a percent. And if you remember, our rule for taking a fraction and turning it to a percent was right here. We were to divide the numerator from the denominator and then multiply by 100. So here I would take 3 divided by 5 and multiply by 100. And you would get 40%. Please finish both columns and then check your work. All right, so your answers should look like this. Check your work on this page. And let me know if I made any mistakes. The last part of the lesson then is to be able to order a list of numbers from least to greatest. And first, you need to find the decimal for each number given. So I'm going to find 2/3, the decimal for 2/3, which is 0.66666 repeating. And the decimal for 61% would be 0.61. And we already have this as a decimal. So now I just have to compare my place values. They all have a 6. And if I look at the second digit, I have a 6, 1, and 9. And I write my final answer in the original form. So 61% is the smallest, and then 2/3 is the next smallest, and then I have 0.69. Okay, let's try the next one. Here again, I'm going to find the decimal, 0.18. Ooh, 1/8. I have to do 1 divided by 8 to find my decimal. It didn't write. 0.125. All right, so I'm going to again look at my place value. So I have 1, 1, and 0. So I know that this is my smallest number, and I'm going to write it in my original form here. All right, then I'm going to take a look at these. The next digit after the decimal point, I have a 2 and I have an 8. So that means 1/8 is the next smallest. And then my last number is my greatest. So in your homework today, I'd like you to do this one on your own in your notes. And then you will be completing this for your homework. So try the last 2 examples on your own. And your homework assignment is out of textbook pages 316 through actually 318. And problem numbers 18 through 33, 70 and 71, and then 78, 79, and 80. Work carefully. I will be looking at your note packets and your homework tomorrow.